Hi, I'm Athen Williamson. I work for the Environment Agency as a flood and coastal erosion risk management officer down in Cornwall. And I'm going to be talking about coastal nature-based solutions and more specifically, the Newlyn Eco Reef pilot. So firstly, a little bit of background on the project that the pilot is part of. The project is called SARC, which stands for Sustainable and Resilient Coastal Cities. It's an Interreg 2Cs project that's looking at filling knowledge gaps and boosting confidence for decision makers looking to implement nature-based solutions at their urban coastlines. So there's a total of 14 partners in the project coming from various countries within the 2Cs region. And on the project itself, we have partners from the UK, obviously, France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. And SARC is really interested in nature-based solutions because climate change-induced sea level rise presents one of the greatest challenges to managers of urbanized coastal areas. And so as a result, adaptation and preparedness to mitigate this risk and the predicted impacts of climate change is really crucial. So the project is looking to develop the kind of naturally adaptive capacity of the coastal system through a number of pilots employing nature-based solutions. And the project's aim is really to develop joint methodologies and technical solutions that can be demonstrated. More importantly, they can be replicated and then monitored for their efficiency. So there are a number of project outputs involved. These include a visualization toolkit. So this demonstrates why nature-based solutions should be employed. It'll provide examples of best practice using nature-based solutions, historic trend analysis, IPCC scenarios, and presenting these in a number of formats, including a web-based geospatial viewer, videos, landscape artwork, and animations. Then we'll have an implementation framework and monitoring tool. So this will really be to help policymakers determine the most suitable nature-based solutions for their specific urban coastlines. Then there'll be nature-based solutions guidance booklets. This will be for local authorities to use. It will really provide a summary on activities completed in the project. And it'll also include content on scientific advice, historic trends, technical solutions, and business models. There'll be a number of events across the 2Cs regions throughout the kind of timeline of the project, really looking to share knowledge and fill knowledge gaps on nature-based solutions. So the project is running up until the end of 2022 at present. So there's plenty of time to attend one of these events if you're interested. And then finally, there's several coastal nature-based solutions pilots. So specifically, I'm going to be talking about the pilot based in Newlyn in Mounts Bay. But if you're interested in finding out more about the other nature-based solutions pilots that are going on, I'll include a link at the end of this presentation, which will link to the project website. So actually, a lot of the project outputs that are involved are really based on knowledge sharing for nature-based solutions. And as a result, the project is using a lot of data, a fair proportion of which we have sourced from CCO. So far this has involved profile data, bathymetry data, aerial photography, a storm catalogue, wave buoy data, and habitat mapping. And so really CCO has already formed a really crucial part of a kind of baseline data collection for this project. So for a little bit of background on the breakwater itself, this is the breakwater up here. As you can see, it's on the North Pier of Newlyn Harbour. It was originally built in front of the mouth of this Newlyn Coombe River. But what we're finding at the moment is that during large winter storms, it's not attenuating wave energy sufficiently, and we're getting a lot of overtopping at this bridge. So a couple of videos here that were taken in 2014, which demonstrate the amount of wave energy and overtopping that's going on at this site. And obviously with sea level rise and increased storminess, we're only expecting this to get worse. So as you can see here, it's really substantial overtopping. So from that, it was determined that something needed to change with the breakwater. So some wave modelling was done to kind of help determine exactly what and how the breakwater needed to change to attenuate wave energy sufficiently. And even that stage of the data, that stage of the project as well, involved yet more CCO data. So for that, we used significant wave height data from the Penzance wave voice that was used for calibrating the model. Then we also used LiDAR and multi-beam bathymetry. So the modelling was completed in 2018 and 2019, looking at current overtopping rates. So we calibrated the model until we got roughly what we believed was correct overtopping rates. And then from that looked forward into the year 2068 to estimate how much overtopping we might expect to see with the current breakwater. And then we looked at different impacts of different breakwater designs, so varying the length, varying the height, and then seeing what that led to in terms of overtopping at the bridge that you saw the video from earlier. And once an approximate design was established, then some further modelling was completed, examining how that breakwater design then attenuated wave energy. And from that, we varied storm events, we varied water levels, wave heights, and breakwater crest heights. So I guess so far I've discussed the general dimensions of the breakwater extension that we were needing to put on, but it doesn't seem like much of a nature-based solution. But the nature-based solution aspect of the project itself is actually within the surface texturing of the blocks. So we'll be using precast blocks and we'll be developing the best possible surface texture that we can for these blocks to enable marine organism colonization. So through this, we're hoping to improve intertidal habitats, hopefully mitigating some of the impacts of coastal squeeze, which is a real issue in this area with this really heavily modified frontage. And really it's hoped that eventually colonization rates would lead to bioarmoring of the blocks, so building on the existing strength of the breakwater itself. So we're hoping to deploy trial blocks shortly over the next few weeks for a period of about 12 months, examining how different surface texture rates influence different colonization patterns, as well as considering other literature that's already been published on ideal surface texturing. So in addition to the surface texturing, the material that the blocks will be made from is actually the byproduct of a local quarry, which is just 5 miles up the road from the breakwater itself. So not only are we planning on recycling material that's otherwise not being used, so we're not generating the carbon footprint with typical cement production, we're also using really locally sourced material. So the transport costs will have a hugely reduced carbon footprint as well. So the project benefits that we're hoping to realise from this pilot are improving sustainability of the local shoreline. So currently there are real problems with wave energy and hard coastal structures, and with climate change, this is only going to get worse. The current frontage is highlighted as unsustainable in Cornwall's shoreline management plan. And the SNP actually highlights the need to move from a policy of hold the line to managed realignment in 2055, which requires quite substantial planning. And the SNP suggests that this is done in combination, this managed realignment is done in combination with offshore structures. So we're really hoping that the Newlyn Eco Reef will provide a really solid proof of concept of nature-based solutions in high energy environments. And then in terms of biodiversity benefits, it's really hoped that this kind of eco-engineering of coastal structures could be a really good opportunity for a kind of wildlife corridor throughout the wider area of Mounts Bay. So we've got a marine conservation zone in Mounts Bay with quite a number of designated features. I've included a few pictures of the most exciting ones. So we've got the stalk jellyfish and the giant goby, but also a designated feature of the site is high energy intertidal rock. So the possibility to try and kind of expand this type of habitat within the local area is a really, really great opportunity. And it's hoped that eventually this project and potentially future ones will really help to increase biodiversity, and as well as increasing retention of sediment within Mounts Bay. So that's a really basic kind of tour of the project and the pilot itself. If you want any more information, I have linked the project website. There's a newsletter that you can sign up for, and also you can find out about upcoming events that we've got going on. So please feel free to ask any questions, and thank you very much for watching.